Yo, what's going on, brothers? Welcome back to Brotherhood Finance. We are live on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you stopping by Brotherhood Finance. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the importance of money management. If you hadn't had a chance to check out our website, check that out down below at brotherhoodfinance.com. It will be in the description down below, and it's also on all of our social medias.
Yeah. So today, we got Brendan Cooper and as well as myself, ColeNichter here, coming at you live, not only on YouTube but as well as TikTok and Instagram itself. How's it going today, Brendan?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just staying consistent. I've noticed that consistency is really important for business. And, me and you've been having good communication and great growth. And I'm ready to dive into this video because obviously there's a lot of important factors and, statistics about, the importance of money management, as it's not really about how much, earned income you make, but how much you can keep and then how much you can multiply to increase your return on investment.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the biggest problem issue obviously in America alone, and just not in America, but the world, is money management.
Right.
And
Yeah.
right now, I mean, 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And I mean, I wonder why, right? I
Right.
mean, we have not only myself, but I mean, there's a lot of people that don't understand, you know, money management.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like one of the biggest things that's kind of happening right now, especially in the United States with this global pandemic, is people are freaking out. Where should I put my money? Where should I be investing in a Roth? Should
Right.
What's next with money management? Um, I know for me especially, it's really understanding. Okay, how much do I need to live off of on a day to day basis, and how much of it is just fun money that people want to blow. I
Right.
mean, I go over to talk to my friends about money management, and they have no plan. Your first step in money management is having a plan. You know,
Right.
what's
Yep.
what's your plan?
Yeah,
When it,
so my plan overall really is obviously it's important to have that business for the the many entities and aspects and write-offs and benefits that you can use out of it. But really, like I feel like what you're saying, Cole, is they're printing all this excess amount of money, and many Americans don't know what to do with the money. They don't know. Okay, so they get this money in. They don't know. Are they going to put that money in liabilities like a car or clothing? Or are they going to invest in their future? And like we were saying, obviously,
yeah,
time could be your best asset or your worst asset. And it's very imperative for people our age to understand, get that money, save a little bit of it, and then put it into an asset vehicle that's going to increase your return on investment so you can start saving for retirement or saving for your future now when it's the most important, rather than waiting 5, 10, 15 years to, invest and set yourself up for the future you deserve. But my own goals for money is how I look at it is obviously the goal for me really is to get my passive income higher than my earned income
of course, yeah,
because earned income is the highest taxed as we talk about.
yeah,
So it's very important to get that passive income higher, and how you do that is by investing in assets. Obviously, the business, staying consistent with that. I think we're doing a great job with that. We're educating the youth, giving them the right information, and giving them the financial education they need if they watch our podcasts and information like this. To get that education to set themselves up for the future that they
yeah.
desire. Real quick, again, for anyone watching, again, we're live on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Brotherhood Finance. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel or checked us out on TikTok, anyone viewing on Instagram, go ahead and do that.
Same as well as TikTok. If you guys want to watch the podcast live, make sure to go to brotherhoodfinance.com. Or basically, if you want to watch it live, go to YouTube at Brotherhood Finance, as well as the link is in the description. All right. So diving kind of back into it, and the first question that, I kind of want to dive into the people is, how bad is it if I don't pay off my credit card every month? Because a lot of like, not debt, but a lot of people sometimes have trouble paying off their credit card. And
Yeah.
it's very, very important for people to understand that, paying off your credit card is very important, not only for your credit score, but to be out of bad debt. We talk about the
Right.
difference between good debt and bad debt. And I feel like credit cards and obviously debit cards and things along those lines are bad debt. And if you're not paying off your credit card, I mean, not only are you not, you know, retaining that credit score that, you have to have, but you're
Right.
also putting yourself into a bad position as well.
Yeah, 100%, Cole. I mean, and you put it right. I mean, like you were saying, there's that differentiation between good debt and bad debt, like we were saying. And good debt is, money that you can use to, if you need a loan, depending on the interest rate, they're practically giving money out for free right now because they've printed 22.5% of every US dollar in the past 2 years. So massive amount of money printing. The reason they're doing this, obviously, is to keep the economy afloat. And Biden's trying to pass another infrastructure bill, which will further increase inflation. So we'll see how that does, and if he passes that. But credit card is one of the worst, debts you can get into. Credit is very important. It's especially at kids our age, Cole. I tell everybody I talk to, especially people that are, trying to get ahead or just, starting to learn about education, is obviously money management is very important, but having and building a credit score at a young age. So by the time you're out of college or by the time you're 23 years old, 24 years old, if you can have, a 700, 800 credit score, that will help you substantially because obviously, like we know, Cole, you're going to be using credit for a home. You're going to be using credit to get a car, for pretty much anything. People are going to go back and they're going to look at your credit history, especially if you want to buy real estate, like you were saying, and you want to leverage a good debt to buy an asset that's going to appreciate, have tax write-offs. You can write off depreciation, get the cash flow, etc.
Yeah, and if people don't understand the definition of leveraging is using your money, not your own money, but the bank's money, in order to, for example, if we're using real estate, for example, you want to leverage the bank's money, and they can, what percentage they can take out. You can leverage up to.
Yeah, it really depends on what they look like. I believe as they want to look at your debt to income ratio. So that's a good thing to help build credit. But obviously they're going to look at your income, and what they measure off credit is that you can pay things on time. So if you're going and you're trying to get a loan for real estate, like we're saying, and getting that good debt, the first thing they're going to do is look at your credit score and your income. And if you have a good credit score, you're going to have the ability to get a lower interest rate and get a better loan, which will help you increase your return on investment, on that real estate property. But with a credit card, it's really like I said, and it's just like Robert Kiyosaki likes to say, Cole, as we talked about, the rich love debt and the poor and middle class hate debt, and especially credit as well, because it gets the rich richer and the poor poorer. If you have bad credit, guess what? Everything's going to cost more money. You get a house, that interest rate and that mortgage that you have to pay is going to be worse. It's going to be at a higher rate. And how homes work is when you typically get a loan, you're going to be paying off the loan before you actually pay off the house. So if you get, a 6% interest or whatever you may get on your mortgage for your home, you're going to be paying off that 6% first. For a credit card, it's the same, kind of the same thing that applies is, for example, I know some people that, are at a 20% interest rate that they have to pay on their credit card, which is it's craziness, man. You're tossing money out the window. That's when you're really tossing money out the window. And it's because people don't have the right financial education to, obviously figure out how to, budget is really the main thing, which is why we're talking about money management. So the first thing people should start doing when they get money is they need to look at it and go, okay, these are my expenses. This is my income. And then I'm going to put a little bit and I'm going to save a little bit of it. And then the other part I need to invest. But what's wrong with our society, and we've noticed it too, Cole, obviously, you just graduated high school and you're about to, attend Flagler and you're starting your college career here soon. And I just finished my first year at BG. And I've noticed, man, kids our age, especially, 20 to 30, they're out buying cars. They're out, getting. Yeah, ridiculous. And their credit, I'm not sure where their credit scores are at, but
it's crazy because I know the average 19-year-old doesn't even have a credit card.
Yeah.
And not only do they not have a credit card, the average 19-year-old has negative money.
Yep.
So, if you're looking at the average 21-year-old, they're almost a negative $100,000 in debt because of school, because of liabilities.
Student loan debt is, it's a scary thing, man. And again, like you were saying, I know I actually, it's funny. I talked to a girl a couple years ago and she's like, I'm $200,000 in student loan debt, which is absurd. Even if you make good income, and it's just like, going back to Robert Kiyosaki, obviously he's one of my favorite entrepreneurs. I know yours is Grant Cardone. But he says, the education and paying for that loan is absurd. And earned income, let's say you become a doctor, a lawyer, a high paying earned incomer, you're going to be paying a very high substantial amount of taxes, which is good, which is fine, you're making good income, but then you have to figure out where you're going to write off that income, and then are you going to invest in an asset and then pay off that loan, because like we were saying before, the loan is what can hurt us the most, especially credit cards as well.
Oh, for sure. So I guess and this is obviously your opinion. What do you think is kind of that price? Obviously earned income being the highest earned income, and the more money you make, the more you pay in taxes, correct? So what do you think is that baseline to being like, wow, all right, I make 100K and I'm paying 30% in taxes, and just 30% of my income's going out there. What do you think is that baseline to where it's like, okay, hey, if I'm going to school for this long, what do I do to make money that's worth it, especially going into $200,000, $300,000 a day? One of my biggest things I don't understand too is, why are you going $300,000 in debt and just majoring in communications or majoring
Yeah, that's something I've never understood either, Cole. Like, people go to college and they're like, I'm going to study arts, or I'm going to study, which is fine. I mean, at the end of the day, people,
even photography, like, okay, great, 10% of
photography, communication, like we were saying, you can specialize and do great in that field just from social media. It's the same thing with education, which is why I think we add a tremendous amount of value. Like we were saying, everything is online that you want to learn. People just need to go out and they need to gather the information, get it from reasonable resources and people that they can trust, and then verify the information. Just like how we were saying, obviously, credit card. It's going to take you a lot longer to pay off a credit card, debt than, depending on your credit score. And it's like you were saying, like I was saying, the rich, credit and borrowing money gets the rich richer, and credit and borrowing money gets the poor poor, depending on, how they manage their money.
Exactly. So kind of diving into the next question, what does a realistic budget look like? I know, for example, for me, I follow Grant Cardone's golden rule, the 40-40-20 rule. You got to pay 40% to the big guy. Yeah. You got to, take that 40% and invest, put it in assets that are going to create you passive income. I can't make that more clear to the people. You have to put money into assets that are going to generate you passive income. The money has to work harder than you. And if you're working harder than the money right now, you're doing yourself a disservice. Really, you are. Because we are printing so much money. And as we both know, 22% of all the money was printed in 2020 alone. So, and then the other 20%, that's what you live off of. So for an example, if you make $10,000 a month, right? This is what the 80% of people do. They put that check, not plural, check, your earned income check goes straight into their bank account, right? You got, 80% of people, that money goes straight into their bank account. Then diving into the 19%, right? You have 19% of people that, it dives into their check. They have checks. This is what the middle class do. They have checks, not check like normal, the other 80%, but they have checks. So the other 19%, are putting it into, college funds, whether that be, for the future for the kids. They're putting it into, 401ks, etc. Right?
Yeah.
But that's what the middle class are doing. That's what they're taught. And they pay off their debt. They pay off what they need to be paid off, but they have a sense of money management. Now, what makes, that 99% different from that 1%? Let me tell you this, is that 1% is investing in assets that are creating them passive income.
Right.
And
100%.
A lot of people, I'd say 90% of people are like, oh, I'm going to invest in real estate. I'm going to do commercial real estate. I'm going to be a, project manager, or I'm going to be, whatever it may be, but they don't go and do it. I always tell people, if you have a vision, you have a goal and aspiration, go and do it. Because you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't go and do it. But What does a realistic budget look like in your eyes?
Yeah, cool. I mean, it goes back to exactly what you were saying is obviously it's important, look at your balance sheet, look at your earned income, and then see
Mhm.
where your money's going. What does Grant Cardone like to say? Follow the money. It's really like that. If you get that earned income check, are you getting passive income? Obviously, like we are saying, the most imperative thing people need to get out of watching this podcast is it's important to get your passive income higher than your earned income.
Yeah,
That way, your budget is better. That way, you can set yourself up with the future you desire and have those assets that are going to pay for the lifestyle that you want. Realistic budget, really, obviously, like we're saying, you want to look at your income and your expenses. And theoretically, my thing, Cole, is I don't know if your audio cut out, but
no,
my
you're
thing
good.
is obviously, you want to make sure that you're saving a little bit of the money, not a whole lot, so you're prepared to buy some of the crashes. So for me, I like to
Yeah,
sit on like 20 to 30%. Obviously, I have to pay for college and other things as well. But sit on a little bit of cash, so then you can buy assets if there's a stock market drop, like this
yeah,
little stock market drop that we had before. If the stocks crashed 10-20%, some of the assets I was invested in, I doubled down. And I'm prepared to do
exactly.
that if that occurs again.
Yeah,
But yeah, keeping your income high, keeping your expenses lower, and don't live above your means. The problem most people have today is they care more about the look than anything, especially
yeah,
our generation. It's
yeah,
instant gratification. They rather look rich than be rich, which rich isn't even the goal. The goal should be wealth and have financial freedom. For us,
exactly.
to have time with your family, to be able to go on vacations, to do those things, not just to be like, oh, I'm rich. And most people, they like you were saying, especially at a young age, they get in lots of credit card debt, they get in lots of student loan debt,
Yeah,
they get in a mortgage debt. And it's funny, we pulled up a picture before, Cole, and what is it, $400 a month rather invested into the S&P or into an asset vehicle can make you hundreds of thousands of dollars instead of putting it into a liability like a
even
car
a
that's
Roth,
depreciating.
even a Roth IRA, let's say you have 400 extra dollars to spend, monthly, right?
Yeah,
Obviously we both know that the max is $6,000 a year you can put into your
right.
Roth IRA, but if you're putting $400 into your Roth, and let's say that should add up to around the 3,000-4,000 mark
Yeah,
benchmark.
that's over 4,000 right there.
Yeah, exactly. So that 4,000 that you're putting into your Roth IRA is going to substantially amount of multiply, and that's what we want. We want to
Right.
multiply our money. Thing Grant Cardone said, and I live by it because it's such a great tool. Is he goes, if you are trying to reach $100, is it faster to add $1 every day to reach that $100? Or is it nice to put in, some days put in that fives, put in that tens, to get to that goal quicker? I mean,
Right.
I think anyone can answer that question. That's a no brainer, but it's called multiplying your money. You want to
Yep.
take your money and multiply it,
Yeah.
not leave it in your bank account. I don't understand, man. People have thousands. I mean, I
That's what
talked
they're
to a girl the
taught.
other day.
Cole, that's what they're taught. They're taught work hard. They're taught save money and get out of debt. And again, it all goes back to our education system and our government, Cole. They
Yeah.
they implement the things that we're taught in school. We're not taught about credit. We're not taught
No, we're
about
not.
debt. We're not taught about taxes. We're taught about how to become employees, worker bees. So
Yes.
we're taught to be worker bees, and then we're taught to save money. What do we do when we save money? We go and we give it to the banks, and then we give them $1,000. They're gonna keep $100, and then they're gonna loan out 900. That's why when you go back and there's these big crashes occur, the banks have liquidity problems. And it's funny, I was actually watching a Robert Kiyosaki video 2 days ago, and he was interviewing one of the main people that overlook the economics and how everything's doing, GDP ratio, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he said when COVID first occurred, he saw a big inflow of cash from the government to the banks, obviously, because there was a shortage of liquidity. People were freaking
Yeah.
out. Businesses need money. And what he said was what he's seeing now is the exact opposite. He's seeing the
Mhm.
banks getting rid of their money and giving it back to the Fed and giving it back to the government. And that's kind of scary to me. That scares me that that's occurring because usually when something like that happens, it means the economy, could, they're seeing something and they know they're trying to avoid something pretty much.
Yeah. And
Um, yeah,
yeah,
go
it's
ahead.
it's it's kind of like for me, you got to understand what is happening in the world. So if you want to be financial literate, you want to be financially free, you can't just sit here on your computer every day and be like, wow, I want to be financially free, but not do anything about it. You know,
Right.
talking about what the banks are doing, right? Okay, that's kind of a hint. What are the rich doing right now that is separating them from everybody else? And
Right.
that's what you have to, dive in and look at when you're doing this. So kind of diving back to what is a realistic budget and what it looks like. Let's take if we have $10,000 a month, I'm asking you, what are you doing with that 10 grand a month?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to my expenses. If I'm making $10,000 a month, ideally, I don't want any more than 4,000 of that to be my maximum amount of expenses.
Mhm.
So my expenses, whatever I have, and then again, I want to save at least 4,000 of that, and I want to invest
Yeah.
that, and then the other 20% or $2,000, I would personal use, or again, probably me, I'd probably save the 20%. I'd
Mhm.
probably invest the 40%, and then put the other 40% into expenses that I have, or even try
Yeah,
to
and
lower that. Again, Cole, there's no
obviously,
need to live above our means.
yeah.
Even with $4,000 a month, it's not
Mhm.
about the earned income. It's about, like you were saying, what most education systems fail to teach us is
Mhm.
earning the money, keeping it. It's really easy to earn money and keep it. It's a lot harder to multiply it. And it's
Yep.
something that Warren Buffett goes back to. I think he says, by the second or third generation of your parents or their kids, usually like 80% of the wealth is gone, and it's because it's a lot easier to save the money than it is to multiply it. And when they're printing all this money, it's devaluing the dollar. But again, you do
Mhm.
want to sit on a little bit of cash, not financial education, but this is just me, to be able to have money for an emergency expense, or be able to buy the
Exactly.
dips and increase return on investment, and all those sorts, as well.
So yeah, I mean, one of my thing is, I'm so guys, if you were kind of listening to that, is that's $10,000 a month that you pay, right? That is already taxed. So if you're not already taxed, because we had a question that basically said, hey, is what about being
Yeah.
taxed at the end of the year? I feel like 33% of all your money that you make should go into a tax account. You should have different accounts set up for different things. I mean, like I was watching a video the other day, and a guy was saying how basically and his net worth is 58 billion at least, he said.
Yeah.
And basically he was talking about how he has 9 different accounts that have different money in them. And basically
Yeah.
he had, a debt account where basically all his real estate and things is in. And then he had a tax account. He had a quote unquote fun account. He had, all these different accounts, so that if he had, let's say for an example, I mean, this guy's $58 billion net worth, but he still manages money. He doesn't go out. And that's the
Right.
thing that people
And
don't
I'm sure he's got
understand.
debt also. Robert
Yeah.
Kiyosaki, in 2008, when there was the huge crash, him and his partners borrowed $300 million of debt, and it was
Yeah.
the best day of his life, he said. Because what happens when there's a recession and things are crashed? First off, you can buy the assets at a very low valuation, which gives you the upper hand on many people.
And
And
people
you can
freak out when that
also,
happens.
yeah, yeah. People are giving out rental properties. Assets are at a low value. So they are waiting for the crash. And it just goes back to what we were saying. The rich get richer in crashes, and the poor and
Mhm.
middle class get poorer in crashes. So it's very important, obviously, to be prepared for a crash if one is to occur, but then being
Mhm.
able to take advantage of that opportunity when it presents itself, depending on the state and the circumstance that you're in.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think all that's very important information, and that's why Robert loves the crashes. He's been saying that there's going to be a huge crash for about 20 years now. We'll see if he's right. Obviously, there's a lot of crazy things going on with the economy right now, with GDP,
Yeah.
with massive amounts of money printing. And that's why it's more and more important for people to get the right financial education, so they can at
Mhm.
least stay up with the amount of increase their
Money.
investments and keep the amount of money they have based on inflation aspects.
So kind of diving into the next question is, how much debt is too much debt? Um I'm gonna kind of, play it simple, is there's good debt and bad debt. And
Right.
you know, bad debt if you have $10,000 in credit card debt, I just got to sit here and say, what are you doing? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what are you possibly spending $10,000 on? So,
Right.
kind of just diving into good debt, you know, like we talk about leveraging money for real estate. We talk about, you know, using that debt to create not money, but wealth. You know,
Yeah.
you
And
look at,
and like you were saying too, Cole, but even with that, it's just as important. Before you can even learn how to leverage debt, you have to have a good credit score, have the
yeah,
education, be able to, you know, pay off all of the debt when it does occur. And you
yeah,
know how it all goes down to money management, because if you can't pay off the debt and manage money, then you definitely aren't going to be able to leverage it.
exactly,
So
exactly. So it's kind of really important to understand money management. And that's why we're kind of diving into this. We're diving in, what do the rich do that makes them rich? You know, they're not rich because they're just rich. I mean, yeah, there's generational wealth, right? But you
right.
still have to know how to use that money. You know, I could give you $10 million right now, but I tell you the average American or the average person, that 99% would, I'd see minus thousand here, buying a new
Well, they
car. That's
lose it. They lose it, Cole. It all goes back to the mentality, mindset, and education. You know,
yeah,
and it goes back. I want to bring this point up too, because it's very important. Like you were saying, is money management. And you
mhm.
got these NBA players, NFL players,
Oh my
stars,
god.
movie actors. They make all these millions of dollars, and then it's some crazy number. I want to say it's like 60% of them. Robert said 60% of them after 5 years go bankrupt. And it's because they don't manage money. They don't invest. They buy houses. They buy the liabilities. They buy the luxury. And then
Cuban links.
once that earned income stops coming in, they're screwed. They have no more passive income to be able to
Yes.
pay for their liabilities.
Yeah. I mean,
So
if anything, those athletes, those rappers, those you know, people that do make millions and millions of dollars, and but if you guys don't know, like when you give away money, you can earn up to 80% of that money back as a tax write-off. So it's kind of crazy that, you know, guys give away money, you know, obviously because they feel, you know, it's the need to give away money, you know, help their
yeah,
communities out, things along those lines. But they're keeping a lot more money than a lot of people think, right? So they're making these millions of dollars, you know, they're making all this money, you know, an average NBA player only lasts 5 years, you know? So
right.
it's, what are you going to do in that 5 years to manage your money so you're multiplying your money? You know why Floyd Mayweather is so rich? Yeah, he makes a lot off his fights, but for all he does is invest in real estate.
Yeah,
All he
he
does.
invests.
And
Yep.
skyscrapers, actually. He said his
Yeah.
first investment was right after his first fight. He
Real
bought a
estate, a tangible
skyscraper.
asset. Yep.
So, you know, people
100%.
are saying, "Oh, Floyd Mayweather's he's so rich. He goes after fighting, you know, he gets paid too much to fight X, Y, and Z." And you know, he's making more off his assets, his liquid assets, I like to call them, than he's making off his fights. You know,
Yep.
he said in an interview once, with Grant Cardone, he was like, basically, he goes, if I told you how much money I made off my assets every month compared to what I get fight, I question myself why I still fight. You know,
Right.
it's the same thing that the NFL players, the rappers, the NBA players, etc., can do too, but they
Yep.
don't have the correct money management. And you
And
know,
mindset. Yep.
kind of just diving into debt. I mean, debt and what is too much debt. I mean, if I go out and, you know, I'm a rapper, you know, I understand you got to, you know, buy the chains and stuff, because that's, you know, for
Yeah.
especially hip hop, that's what makes, you know, you brand your, you know, chain. For example, Polo G, he's got,
Yeah, your
you know,
appearance, all that's
Polo.
important for rappers.
Exactly. But I'm sure he manages his money to where, you know, don't go to the clubs every night and blow thousands and thousands and pay for everybody's drinks. You know, if you're going to go to the
Yeah.
club, you know, have a couple drinks, do what you want, you know, but don't go and be that guy, you know, that's like, oh, drinks on me, da 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 da. Because at that point, you know, you might as well be handing out, you know, $100 bills to everybody. Say, here you go, here you go, here you go. You
Right.
know, kind of those things. So
Yeah, but Cole, just in my personal opinion, and it's a very important, like we were saying. Obviously, it depends on your situation. You know, these
yeah,
NFL players, NBA players. So for me, how much money is too much debt. It really depends on the individual, their earned income versus their expenses, and where they want to set themselves up for the next 10, 20, 30 years, or they're just, if they want financial freedom and all the above. So again, it really comes down to what kind of debt do they have? Is it credit card debt? Is it good debt? Is it bad debt? Is it, debt for a real estate property that's getting you cash flow, getting you the appreciation when the the building goes up in price and value? Is it, is it in a good vehicle or is it in a bad vehicle? Is it in a credit card, in a car, or is it in a real estate property, or you're taking out money to, invest in the market or whatever it may be? So it really comes down to that. And then, their income. What is their income? If you only make, let's say you make $40,000 a year and you have, $600,000 in debt, that's not a very good ratio.
So laughing, but that's a true possibility.
It's a lot of people. 46% of Americans can't cover a $400 medical expense.
Yeah, and so that's kind of another thing I want to dive into later is it's important to have an emergency fund. It is important to have your Roth IRA, your 401k, building up your retirement. And another question, kind of just rambling a little bit, is when should I start? How soon should I start saving for retirement?
The day you turn 18 is the best answer, because like we say, time is your best asset. And a Roth IRA, if you set up a Roth IRA, and you can look all this up, you can go to Roth IRA calculator, and one of them is bank rate, and there's a couple other that you can utilize. And if you start at 18 compared to 25, at 18, maxing out a Roth IRA and returning 12% a year until the age of 59, you'll have about $5.2 million non-taxed. And if you start at 25, so just about what would that be? About a 7-year difference from 18 to 25, 7-year difference. You have a difference of roughly $2.52 million. So you're just in that time frame. And we're talking about turning $223,000 into millions of dollars because you're using time. Warren Buffett, compound interest, using time as your best asset. And the way you do that, especially people are at our age, is instead of buying liabilities and going for the looks and going out and partying and going out and drinking and going out and doing what 99% of the people our age group are doing, you try to build a business, you try to get passive income, you invest in assets, and you learn and learn and learn more about financial education. So while they're still working, you can have that freedom to go spend time with your family and do the things you want and have that passive income from your investments, support the lifestyle that you want and you desire.
There's a saying that I hear, often, and it really makes me, more hungry. And it's basically saying, like, your parents always told you, especially mine told you, and, I'm sure yours told you this, is, you work hard. You got to work hard to get what you want in life, right? Nothing's going to be handed to you, especially in our situations, right? So, what my grandpa always told me is, you work hard and then you get to party harder afterwards. So once you have, your money right, once you have, those liquid assets that are giving you that passive income, that cash flow, my favorite word to hear is, how crazy can you go? As crazy as your cash flow, right? So it's kind of one of those things, right? You see Grant Cardone, you see all these rich guys, they're walking around with Paddocks on their wrists. They're walking around in G-Wagons, Ferraris, things like that. But that car was free. That Paddock on his wrist, that $500,000 watch, he didn't buy it like everybody else. He didn't go spend
he had his passive income pay for it.
He went out and he said, how big is my cash flow right now? Wow, I'm making $189 million a year. So yeah, I'm gonna treat myself. So it's like, and
then if he buys a new car and it weighs over 6,000 pounds, he can write that off too. And when he buys those liabilities too, and he states it in all of his videos, is he's not using his earned income. And a lot of the rich people don't even have jobs. They have assets that, because obviously, like we were saying, earned income is the highest tax, but they have those assets like Robert Kiyosaki's or Grant Cardone, like you were mentioning. He uses that cash flow every month that he collects from those tenants. I think he owns what is it now? Like $2.4 billion assets under management of real estate.
Yeah.
So he's just been crazy, blowing up his portfolio and buying more, especially with all the money they're loaning out right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't use his money. He goes to banks. He has teams. He has people that manage the properties, make sure they cut the grass, all that stuff. He has all that stuff down pat. And then if you look into Grant Cardone, like we were even talking, we just did the investing in real estate, Grant Cardone. Something that we mentioned in there is he actually has like 6 to 8 businesses. And within each one of those businesses, they're all tax write-offs and they're all under separate entities. So in each entity, they're protected and all of the income that's generated, the legal aspects, the protection that they have is all separate from each individual business. Yeah. So if anything was to happen, each industry, is safe and is covered. And that's something that he does. And that's something that a lot of people do. Same with Robert. I'm sure his education business is separate. I'm sure his real estate business is a separate entity, and etc.
I was talking with somebody yesterday, and it was funny because obviously being a business owner of Brotherhood Finance, you and I both, right? Co-owners of and CEOs of Brotherhood Finance, we're 19 years old, right? 19 years old, and we have our LLC, right? We have our limited liability company.
Yep.
I was talking to somebody the other day. They were about 20, 21 years old, right? And they're earning a really good amount of money, $100,000 a year, right?
Oh, wow.
And I go, how much do you pay in taxes? He goes, well, I lose about 25, 30% of my, money, right? And I said, okay, can I ask you this? Why don't you have an LLC? What's an LLC? A limited liability company. You don't have to have a company to have an LLC. You can basically, like Steve will do it. I'm sure everybody, knows what Nelk Boys are, Steve will do it LLC. That's his brand. That's who he is. That's his person. He writes off everything. We talked about what is different between that 80% and the 19% and the 1%. Those 19% of people that are business owners are using those tax advantages, are using those write-offs. I think also I want to get this clear is a tax write-off at the end of the year is you not receiving money back. It's basically the IRS, when you pay your taxes, they're not giving you money, but they're deducting money off your taxes. A lot of people say, oh my God, so you're telling me if I write this off, I can receive X, Y. You're not receiving any money. You're not.
Yeah. It's money that they already took from you that they collected from taxes.
Exactly. So I just want to make that clear for everybody, especially when you use those tax codes. And I know everyone's favorite tax code right now is the car write-off tax code. What tax code? 10. What is that? 1059.
I'm not sure. I know the 1031 is the real estate one, which is kind of different. That's for using one real estate property and then putting it into another without having to pay any capital gains. But
there's 3 different types of income. Kind of just diving into the income. Really, you have your earned income, and that is the most taxable event, right?
Yep.
That's you working your 9-to-5 job. That's you. Let's say I work at McDonald's, and I make $50,000 a year, right? As a full-time employee, I'm an employee. I'm a slave to the worker, to that paycheck that is earned income. What's the next income? A lot of people don't know there's 3 incomes. The next income is your portfolio income.
Yep.
That's your stocks. That's your basically, on capital gains tax. Then you got, your cryptocurrencies, which you're still trying to figure out how to tax that to the most they can. And then basically you got your last one. And
passive.
You want to explain the last one?
Yeah, passive income, which is the most important income that you can have because passive income is the least taxed, and it's really the best income you can have overall because, like you're saying, if it's coming from those assets, it's that cash flow. And the best kind of passive income, in my opinion, is from real estate properties. And I know we've talked about, buying a real estate property that has, a multitude of units. Where you're getting more cash flow, your occupancy rate can be higher. You can leverage more capital depending on your credit score. And it's safer than buying one unit to where if you have, no cash flow from that one unit, you're not negative. Obviously, all real estate is great, especially in today's market. It's booming and it's keeping up with inflation pretty well overall. But I think it's very important. Going back to the original question is you start at a young age, you get the proper financial education, and you invest in assets that are going to help you retire at an earlier age and have the financial freedom that you want.
Yeah, and I mean that's very, very important. So I guess the next question I kind of want to dive into, and really honestly is kind of, a very key question, because is how much should I actually be spending on fun stuff? Whether that's a vacation, whether that's treating yourself nice with a nice dinner, whether that, going out and getting yourself a chain, getting a
Yeah.
watch, whatever it may be. How much should I actually be spending on fun stuff? Because I feel like a lot of people, they don't know when enough is enough. So
Yeah.
let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to personal preference. I think too many people, like we were saying, they live above their means. I think they spend too much money on fun stuff. It's good that, celebrate your wins and, spend some money on some things that, you want and that, are, like they're beneficial to you that you enjoy. But at the other end, it really comes down to what are you trying to accomplish? And what, and if you're trying to accomplish and have financial freedom, you should be spending more time, more effort, and more energy on learning about financial education, building businesses, getting your passive income higher, learning about assets so you can have that freedom. And instead of having, not enough time in the future to be able to have and spend time on the fun things, you can have that time while you're older rather than working most of your life and not having the time to enjoy your life and having the fun things. I think that's what's so, misunderstood. People our generation is they're like, I hear so many kids our age, and Cole, I know you hear it too, is I don't want to focus on business. I don't want to focus on, entrepreneurship. I don't want to focus on trying to grow something at a young age. These are the years that I'm trying to party. I'm trying to go out. I'm trying to have fun. When really these are the most important years that you need to use to learn the things you need to know, learn about credit, learn about entrepreneurship, learn about how to invest, learn about real estate, learn about, why it's so important to, have a business and to, grow a brand and all that stuff at a young age, because Cole, we have all this time to scale this business. We're still so young and we already have the LLC and all that.
Yeah. And the average business owner doesn't start till he's at least 27 years old. If you look at the statistics, the average business owner does not start till he is 27 years old. And it's crazy to me. It's kind of crazy because when do you normally, graduate college? 24, 25.
Yep.
The minute I'm out of college, bro.
Or even earlier. Yeah. 23,
example,
22.
We're both 19 years old, right? And you and I both run Brotherhood Finance. And we're using the tax advantages. We're using, everything that a 27-year-old is doing. So I guess back to how much should I be spending on fun stuff? You spend as much as your cash flow. You spend as much as
use your
you
passive
can
income.
spend.
And it's crazy too, Cole, because I like even people I work with or just anywhere you'll find it. They always say, well, I don't make enough money or, this or that. It's not about the what money you make. It's about what are you doing with your money? Are you investing your money? All that stuff is very important. Cole, if you could turn up your mic a little bit, that'd be awesome. But yeah, dude, it's really important of, what do you spend your money on? Investing in assets at a young age. And that's fine. If you want to go out and party and you want to, waste your youth and not educate yourself, that's okay. But in the future, it would have been that much important for you to set yourself up, learn the proper things, and have the financial education at a young age. So you better set yourself up for the future.
I do think a lot of this is because of one reason, why people spend money and why people, on dumb stuff, liabilities like we talk about. I think it really comes down to people worry about what people think about them.
100%. And that's why a lot of people don't even want to start businesses or they don't want to try to grow. They're scared what other people think about them. They're scared, what if this doesn't do good? What about the way, you start accomplishing a lot of your goals? Obviously, you write them down and stuff and all that stuff is you have to focus on, obviously, your team, yourself, and stop caring about what other people think. And again, that goes back to exactly what we were saying, why people our age are buying BMWs, why they're buying, expensive cars, jewelry, all that, all those other liabilities that they don't need is because they're trying to impress someone or they're trying to, really just impress someone, like I was saying. And I mean, it's really important.
Dude, like at the end of the day, you go out and you buy a brand new Mercedes, you go out, buy a brand new BMW. good for you. That's all you're getting from me. Look, I can go out and buy it too, and I know you can too. So it's like, it's kind of one of those things is like, the wealthy do not show that they're wealthy. For an example,
Right.
unless you're somebody that has so much money that you don't know what to do with it, and you use
Right.
it for businesses uses. I mean, whether it's buying, your employees Teslas, use that as a tax write-off, for your
Yep.
business.
As long as it weighs over 6,000 pounds, or you buy a private jet that you write off under the LLC, or you buy a super yacht, all those things. And people wonder why the rich buy things like that. Every single one of those is a tax write-off for a business.
Not to impress people, and people got to understand that a lot of the richest cars and and jewelry and stuff like that are business tax write-offs, or they use what is given to them, and the tax write-offs change every single year. So they're figuring out different models, they're figuring out different things, how to change so that people don't abuse it. But as of 2021, you can up to 6,000 pounds you can write off. I can sit here, and if your business has enough money and it is an essential need, for an example, real estate, whether you're owning your own real estate company and you have to show houses, right? You have to have your employees show houses. They could be showing houses in a Bentley truck if they really wanted to, and using that as a tax write-off. So it's all about understanding, money management. It comes back to that all the time. As a business, you got to understand how much do I have to leave aside for taxes? How much do I, have to spend on ads and stuff? You should not be spending more than 10% on advertisement.
Yep.
More than 10% of advertisement of your revenue income. So your revenue, basically, if you make, $1 million a year, you should not be spending more than $100,000 on ads.
Right.
The traffic will flow, build your community, build things that people want, people need. I see all the time, I see, people talking about, well, I want to start a business, right? Where do I start? Where do I begin? What do you want to do?
Well, that's the thing. Most people don't start.
Yeah. It all starts with, people. You look at some of the most motivational quotes is 98% of people have a great idea, great ideas, but they're too worried about what people think about them.
Yep. So they never execute.
They're scared how people will react. You're going to get hate wherever, I was listening to the song the other day and it really hit because, if you're local, and people will support you when you have nothing.
Yep.
When you have nothing, people will support you. But the minute that you become greater than them, they will not support you. And not only because it's jealousy, because they had the same opportunity as you. They were in the same position as you, the same classroom as you, but yet they couldn't do what you did. They can't do what you're doing right now, Brendan. They can't sit here in front of a camera and talk for 48 minutes, build a company, build a following. I'm here to show that anything is possible, not only on TikTok, not only on Instagram, not only YouTube, etc. I'm here to show that if you stay hungry and you stay relentless and you push and show and power through that adversity. And I know you sent me a message the other day is you were like, when there's levels to this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And every level that you go up gets harder. And when you're about to hit that next level is when it hurts the most, not just physically, but also mentally. It mentally drains you, right? So, it's all about leveling up and how can you take yourself and create that financial freedom. The financial freedom is not, I want to be rich and I want to flex on all my friends. Financial freedom is so that you can go out and you can explore the world. There's so many places that I know you and I both want to go. There's so many places that are so cool. And it's all about creating that financial wealth so that when it comes back to budgeting, what we're talking about, right? You have the financial freedom to go and do the things you want to do. So, kind of just talking, diving into the next question is, how much should I have in an emergency fund? And I know I really want to harp on this because I think
Important.
I'm not a financial advisor, but this is my true opinion, and this is what I've been taught and I've read up on. And you should have 6 months of your income at least into your emergency
I
fund.
like that. Yeah.
If I have 6 months of my money in emergencies fund, let's say I end up in the hospital, right? Because you said that most Americans can't pay for a $400 medical bill.
46%. Yep.
46% of Americans can't pay for a $400 medical bill. Are you kidding?
No,
That's your life on the line.
That's facts.
That like I don't want to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy. Are you kidding? Like, so you're telling me I go out to a crowd, I go out to a party or whatever it may be, and there's 500 people there. 46% of those people couldn't pay for a $400 medical bill.
Yep.
That's mind-boggling to me. I mean, don't you think, it all comes back to investing in yourself, right? Like we say here at Brotherhood Finance, invest in yourself and you'll create your wealth. So
Yep. Yes, sir.
it kind of just goes back to those things of money management. And people are not taught money management. And it's honestly kind of disappointing, to be honest, especially with the school systems and everything along those lines. And guys, if you have not yet, make sure please go down below, hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 2K, and hit that like button while you're at it. If you enjoy what you
and check out brotherhoodfinance.com. We'll have that in the description below. And if you're on TikTok, on YouTube, etc., again, make sure to follow us on both platforms.
Yep.
And so Cole, going back to what you were saying, emergency fund, for my opinion, again, that goes back to what I say. I like to sit on 20 to 30% of cash, because that's kind of a little bit of my emergency fund if something was to happen. In life, there's unexpected things that always occur. So like you were saying, 6 months, I like, that's a good metric. I believe, I agree with that. I think you should have at least 6 months of your earned income set aside, not only for being able to get rich when the crashes occur, but, or increase your return on investment, but having that security and that safety. People like to have that also, which is something important, but don't get to the point where you're also not able to keep the money that you work hard for to keep up with, the inflation that's occurring.
It's all about holding liquidity, cash on hand. I need to have cash on hand in order to be accessible. So if something does happen, God forbid, I can go right, wherever my safe is, grab the cash and just say, here you go. And it doesn't hurt me. Like you said, 46% of people can't pay for a $400 medical bill. So it's like, now I'm in this position where, okay, I have 6 months of my, earned income set aside. And it can even be from passive income, which it honestly probably would be better, right? So it's just 6 months of income set aside, okay, I break my leg doing something dumb, I cost $20,000 surgery. All right, paid, gone. That debt is, it's gone. Now I worry about making money again, right? So it's not, hurting you. And I feel like a lot of people do is they buy unnecessary things. They start their retirement fund at 40 years old. Why are you starting at 40 when you should be starting at 18? Like you said, when is it a good time to start saving up for your retirement?
And the crazy thing too, Cole, is the education is out there now. It's all out there. Anything people want to learn is online. You can learn, and it didn't used to be like that. We have an advantage over our previous generations by being able to have all the information we need online. And if we've anything that I've noticed since obviously we were both been born and everything, is technology is rapidly advancing at a crazy rate. I would not doubt next 10 to 20 years, we're 3 times more advanced than we are now. Electric cars, all that stuff. Everything is advancing rapidly. The way we do money, is it going to go all on, crypto and on blockchain and all digital? If we've noticed, movies you used to go to the movie theater a lot. Now you pull up your Disney Plus to your Netflix and you're good. You got everything you want right there. And you got faster transactions, all that stuff. So, and it was interesting, not diving into too much crypto, but Elon just had a speech with Kathy Woods, one of the ARK investors. And he was saying, I didn't sell any of my Bitcoin. Tesla owns Bitcoin, SpaceX owns Bitcoin, and he owns Bitcoin. He sold none of it. And he was talking about how they're printing all this money and how he has bank accounts in other countries. And they're actually already at the point where they're charging negative interest rates, which means for you to save money, it's going to cost you to save that money with them. They're going to take a percentage of your money to save it and give it to them. And in that point, they're going to loan it out and they're going to make money off your money while you're giving it to them for them to save it. So it's ridiculous.
Kind of just, diving in. I don't want to get too much into it, like you said, but why do we have to pay for a house 3 times, 4 times, 5 times? It doesn't make sense to me. This is this is all a discussion for another day. But kind of just wrapping it up. How much should I put in my emergency fund? 6 months worth, and I truly believe that. And Brendan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so emergency fund, obviously, like you're saying, 6 months, have some liquidity, have some cash on hand to be able to pay for emergency event or something like that to occur. And that's why it's important to have that financial education. And everything ties back to money management. What's your credit? If you have a medical bill, you might have to pay more for that medical bill because you're not known for paying things on time. And then if you have a whole bunch of liabilities, you may not be able to cover that $400 medical expense. All those things are very important to keep in mind. And that's why it's important to, have the proper financial education at a young age, learn, go online, get the information, get the statistics, and set yourself up with the education you need for the future that you want to have for your family, for your children's, etc. And it's a lot easier to earn money and keep money than it is to multiply it. And that's why it's very imperative for people to spend the time to sit down, to watch these podcasts, and to get all of the value and the information that we provide them.
100%. It's like I said, it's very imperative that people, understand what they're investing in, understanding what assets are multiplying their money and not just adding. You want to multiply, want to create your wealth. It starts here at Brotherhood Finance, where invest in yourself and you'll create your wealth. And guys, if you have not yet, make sure to go check out brotherhoodfinance.com. Go, scroll through what we have to offer.
Live, packages are live. You can use one of our discount codes. So mine is B for 10. And what's all
understanding, what if you want to start investing in yourself and you really want to start taking your, financial freedom to the next level, you got to invest in yourself, and it all starts there. And we offer amazing services, not only one-on-one coaching, but as well as, services that will get you to the point where you want to create that financial freedom. And if you want to support us, give us some love. Go cop one of the t-shirt, hoodies. They're all live right now. Go cop yourself one at brotherhoodfinance.com. Thank you for everybody. Make sure to hit that plus button if you're on TikTok and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's a free investment. It really is. And it starts here. Start your financial freedom today and do not be left in the dust behind, because I'm telling you, I'm 19 years old, but, in 5 years, 25, I want to already make my first million, and it's setting goals, having, goals in between your goals so that you can keep going. You can, basically steadily increase your ROI.
Have that momentum. Having the momentum. Again, everybody, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Smashing is very important. Again, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked us out on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, make sure to do that. We appreciate all the love and support. And like Cole said, if you want to rep the Brotherhood Finance LLC brand, you can check that out at brotherhoodfinance.com. Cole, is that everything?
Yeah, that's everything. Guys, hope you have an amazing day, and we'll be back in the studio soon.
Yes, sir. All right, peace, brothers.
Peace.